So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So today we are here to discuss the capabilities of ArcGIS Workflow Manager. So ArcGIS Workflow Manager basically allows us to streamline and standardize the business process and the production environment. So today we'll be discussing about the product functionalities and like what all we can do and who might be the end users and so on. So to begin with, let's see what all topics we are going to cover in today's session. So in today's session, we would be discussing about the product. So I'll be giving you an overview about this product, what it is and what it does, and what are the benefits using this product. And since it is an extension, so we'll also discuss about how it is giving or, what tools it is giving us with or what all tools are available on top of the ArcGIS desktop solution, and followed by a technical demonstration. And then I'll give an understanding about the system requirements and the licensing that are required for this product. And finally, we'll wrap up the session with the question and answer session. So to begin with, so before going into the product capabilities, let's understand in a general overview what is a workflow. So a workflow is a sequence of steps that a piece of work has to pass from initiation to completion. So this is not only for the GIS based workflows, it is for non-GIS based workflows also. So for any workflow, let's say for any project or for any task, it has a workflow, right? So let me give you a small example which is not related to GIS so that you'll be easily able to correlate. So if we consider stitching, or if we give a work to a tailor saying that I need a t-shirt or something, then our tailor needs to go through a sequence of steps. That is, he needs to take our measurements and then draw the lines, or he needs to, according to that measurements, he needs to make that cuttings on the cloth and then finally stitch it. So he need to follow the sequence. Then only he can generate or he can stitch a good product out of it. But if he is not following the sequence, and if he say like without taking measurements or anything, if he's directly cutting the cloth and stitching the t-shirt, so it won't give a best output, right? So that is why it is important for us to standardize the process all the time. So this ArcGIS Workflow Manager helps us to standardize that process. So today our session would be specifically based upon the map production. So let me show you the general workflow that most of them use for generating a map product. So here, while generating a map product, we need to follow some steps in the sequence, and the first step would be the database configuration. Obviously, we need to configure the database schema and the feature classes or whatever that is required for the data collection or whatever map you're generating. And then once your schema is designed, the next step would be the data collection. So then the next step would be once the data is loaded and it is into the database, we need to make sure that the data is free from all the errors and so on. And finally, once our data is free from everything and if it is good to go, then we will generate a map product out of it. So here we see that there are like 5 steps in order to generate a map. So this is a workflow, and this workflow will be standardized using the ArcGIS Workflow Manager. So now going into the product, let's understand what is this ArcGIS Workflow Manager and what it does. So ArcGIS Workflow Manager is an extension of ArcGIS Desktop and ArcGIS Enterprise. It is an easy to use application. So again, as we have discussed, it is used for standardizing the workflow. And it is a scalable enterprise workflow management system. So it can be used for the small organizations and as well as the big organization based upon the task they are taking upon. And it can be implemented for GIS and non-GIS workflows as well. So if you see this diagram talks about like how the workflow will be implemented. So the first step in the workflow management is to create a workflow. So workflow is nothing but a flow chart, like what all process you will follow and so on. So once you have planned for it, then you can start configuring it in the application, and then we will execute those steps like whatever we have done. So earlier you have seen the data collection part and so on. So you will execute those steps, and finally generate a product. So once you have followed this sequence, you can see that your product has been generated with the quality, and you can even have control over the cost and time as well. So this is how ArcGIS Workflow Manager helps us to do the things. And if you see the components of the workflow management system, there are different components in it. So the first one would be the graphical representation of the workflow. So it will be similar to the flowchart. And the second one would be the data entry form. So data entry is basically, suppose let's say a person is leading, let's say a person as an administrator. So an administrator is leading a project, or if he's working on a project and if he has a team under him, let's say a 50 members team under him. So as an admin, he has the capability to assign a task to everybody. Let's say a data collection task is handled by a person A, and then the next person will carry out the QA/QC. So the person B does that, and the person C does the map generation. So he has all the privileges to assign the task to each person, so that they can only access to that particular data set and the task over that period of time. And next, identity-based access. So as I was telling you, let's say data collection should only be done by person A. So then we can restrict it to only person A and only he does it. So this identity-based access can also be given. And then user reassignment. So once a person A finishes his work, we can automatically assign the task to the person B based upon whatever workflow we have configured. And in an organization, there might be some hundreds of tasks going on. So in that cases, it will be difficult to manage without reports. So this workflow manager will even help us in generating the reports. And then the document integration. Let's say if you want to attach any documents, or if you are generating any map documents out of it, so those all can be saved in a workflow. And then obviously it is integrated with the spatial data. And once you assign a task to somebody, an email notification will be sent to them saying that this task has been assigned to you. Please go and work on it. So these all are the components of the workflow management system. And moving on to the benefits. So with the help of this ArcGIS Workflow Manager, we can effectively manage people, process, and software and the data products in real time through standardization, centralization, and repeatability. So it's like even though if 50 people are working together, we need not worry how the data will be saved or how things, how the data will be going onto the field. Let's say if you're collecting some data set from the field, how we will get that and all these things. So this all things can be effectively managed by the workflow manager. So I'll be showing you a demo on it, so that will make you more clear, get an idea of this. So again, as I told, the benefits would be geo-enablement, that is you can effectively add a spatial aspect to your workflows, and then application integration as such, integrate GIS and business apps in one place, and scalability. So as we have discussed, manage work across small groups or global offices, and reliability for standardizing and centralizing your data, for computing, communication, and reporting as well. Such as I told, if you are assigning a task to somebody, an email alert will be sent to them. So that makes a person know or get aware of the work. And then coming to the ArcGIS workflow functionalities. So it allows us to create and assign the work. So as I was telling you, so let's say I need to collect some data. So I can immediately say person A that there is some task for you, and I can assign it using the workflow manager. And the next one would be we can track the jobs. Let's say I have assigned a person A, I have assigned a task to the person A. I can see how much percentage of job he has completed, or is it pending, or let's say if I have assigned today and if I have given 15 days of time, I can monitor it and see whether he is doing work on his time or not. So these kind of things. Then standardize business process and assign job geographically. So let's say if you want to assign a job geographically, in the sense, let's say sitting in Hyderabad, I want to assign a job to a person in Delhi. So I can do that as well with the area of interest, and then integrate GIS and other applications together and the reporting and all. So we can manage the distributed workforce across the country or regions or the world. And if you see, as we have discussed, it is an extension on top of ArcGIS Desktop, and so it allows us to manage work, data, process, and people. So as we have discussed, it allows us to standardize the workflow and the map template. So by default, you can even set a map template so that whenever you are generating the map products, it will by default use that map template. And you can even, for the new users or for new people, whoever are not aware of this, you can even load the ArcGIS task into the workflow to make them understand and restrict the users outside set location. Let's say if I have assigned a task to a person in a Delhi, I can restrict him to work only in that area. If he is trying to edit something outside that boundary, it will not allow him to edit, or it will directly delete the features, or it won't even allow him to add any data sets. And then we have the Workflow Manager server as well. So that allows us to do the same things on the web browser. So we can visualize as an administrator, we can visualize and monitor the progress and see the status of the work that has been assigned. So now let's see our technical demonstration for this. Rudy, I have lost the control. Hi, Rudy.
Ma'am, allow me just 1 second.
Should I share it again?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
So this is the application. This is a desktop application where you can access as an end user. An administrator can also access this application to assign the task to the field crew, or let's say if he has a team of 50 members, he can assign the task to the 50 members over here. And people whoever, let's say if I am an end user, I can open this application and see all jobs, or just click on this queries to see if I have been assigned with any job or something. Or else you will directly get an email notification saying that a job has been assigned, then you can open this application to see. So now as an administrator, I'm assigning a task to one of the person. So here the task is data editing, QA and QC. And the assignment, so I can assign it to the different users. So if I am the administrator, you can see there are different names over here like Aman Singh, Nikhil, Teja, Sarika, Sushma and all. So let's say if I'm assigning a task to Aman, and I can even set the date, like today is the start date, and I can set the due date. So let me give him some like 15 days or 20 days of time. And then the parent version and all these things, you can leave it by default and click OK. So as soon as you do this, a task will be assigned to Aman. And whenever he is opening this application, like, or else an email alert will be sent, and whenever he is opening this application, so you can see that this task has been assigned and all the details will be over here. So if he wants to find out some properties, extended properties, like what is the job status and everything, in the bottom he can see like what is the start date and the end date, and what is the data workspace, and what is the description, and we have some of the extended properties. And whatever this Aman is doing, everything will be recorded in the history. Let's say if he's corrupting something, or let's say if he's doing something, or if he's like leaving his work in between, everything will be recorded in the history. And if he wants to add anything to the notes, like he can add, or if he has any problem, he can mention it over here. So administrator will get the news about it. And then the location of interest. So as I was telling you, we can assign the location of interest. Let's say if I am assigning this particular grade to this person, he can only edit within this grade, and then the attachments and so on. So now this application is totally based upon the Windows authentication. So till now I have assigned a task to Aman. So if Aman is logging in, then only he will be able to execute this workflow. If Aman is not logging in and if other person is logging in, then they won't be able to execute this. So if you can see here, this run current step button is disabled. That means now I don't have the rights to execute it because I am not Aman. So you can see who has logged in into this machine. So it is post install user has been logged into this machine. So only if the task is being assigned to the post installer, then I can execute this. So I'm changing the task assignment to post installer and I'll quickly save it and refresh it. So, yeah. So now you can see the run button has been enabled and I can run it. And as I run it, everything will be documented and listed down in the history. So you can see the job create job by post installer and the job assigned to administrator by post installer. So as I'm changing the things, everything is being recorded over here. So this is the simple workflow that I have shown. So it is basically like whenever I start executing it, it will ask if an area of interest has been assigned. If it is yes, it will go to the next step. If it is no, then we can choose the area of interest by our own if it is for field data collection or something like that. Then again, it will go and check if there is an AOI. If yes, then it will proceed to the next step. And then it will create a version for, multi-user editing. If multiple people are editing on the same database, then a version will be created for a particular user and he will be able to edit in his own version. So that also it will check if there is a version. If yes, it will proceed to the next step, or if no, it will create a version. So these all are, automatic steps. A user need not worry or create it on his own. So this workflow will be able to check it by itself. So now let me quickly run this workflow. So I'm just clicking on the run button on the top. So the workflow has started executing. So it is checking if there is an area of interest. If we have not assigned any area of interest, it is asking me to assign an area of interest. So I'm selecting this polygon and saying OK. Then it is moving to the next step and checking if there is any version. So if the version is not there, then it is automatically creating it by itself and going to the further steps. So here it is taking me to the ArcGIS desktop environment to start editing the features. So here I can directly start creating the new features. So if you have seen, I have been assigned to this particular area of interest and you can see only this particular grid data has come over here. So what I can do as an end user, I can load task and see if I need to do something. If I'm not aware, I can just open the task and see, or if I know what to do, I can start editing the features. So as I was telling you, if they are trying to do something outside the grid area, let's see, this is outside the grid area, the empty space. And as soon as I create it, it says the newly created feature falls outside the area of interest extent. The feature will be deleted. So it won't give me that access to create outside the area of interest. And you can start editing the features, like you can create, modify, delete, and so on. So let me delete this polygon as of now. So I'll delete it and quickly save edits and stop editing. And I'll save this document and close it and move to the further steps. So as a data editor, I have finished the editing part, then it is automatically going to the QA and QC. So before going to QA and QC, it is asking me whether I should reconcile and post the edits to the parent version. So if we say yes, then it will automatically post it to the QA QC person and then he will be able to do the analysis. So again, it is asking whether I have a review session. If I don't have, it is creating it on its own. So we need not run the tool manually. So it is opening the QA QC session right now. So all the errors, whatever are there in this particular data set, everything will be written, all the errors will be written to the reviewer table. So here I am not doing anything, manually. Everything is automatically being done. So if you have seen, we have deleted the polygon and the polygon has been vanished. And if you open the reviewer table, you can see if there are any errors. So you can see there are so many errors within our data set. So we can check what all these errors are. So I'll just sort it by check title. So it is, we have two types of errors here, duplicate vertices and geometry on geometry. So you can expand this and click on any of this and say select and zoom to feature geometry. So you can see if there is any error. So if you zoom into a particular extent, so you can see the features are overlapping. So you need to correct this kind of errors. And so let me show you another one. Okay. So here it says the features are overlapping on each other. So it is geometry on geometry error. So in this cases, what we need to do, we need to start editing and rectify this error. Suppose if it needs to be split or if the lines need to be cut. So we need to perform those things like split line. Now we have split it and then I can save edit, stop editing. I can set the status, enter correction status. I can say resolved as per the guidance and I can just click OK. So as soon as you change the correction status and you have made edits, you can see the symbol has been changed over here. And now you can just go to the data view, set your map. So I would like to create the output for this particular extent. I'll just set the extent, then save it and leave. So as soon as I do this, it is asking me whether the QA/QC part has been finished or no. If I say no, it has not been finished and there are so many errors, then I can reassign the task to the editors again and then they need to perform it again. So this is totally under the control of administrator. So right now, without even rectifying, I'm able to go to the next steps. But in the real time use cases, we need to set that parameter so that we should be not able to proceed to the further steps. So right now, for the demo purpose, I'm proceeding further. So using that data set, I am generating a map document. So you can see here, create PDF, and then the next step is view PDF. So automatically, once it is generated, the process is on the hold and you can see the map product has been generated automatically. So here this is a simple, a basic template, but if your organization has a specific template, you can load it into your workflow manager and whenever you're creating a map product, it will be generated for that particular extent. So now once if I am done with this step, I can mark it as completed to move further. So now if we feel all our data and everything is fine, we can just reconcile and post it to the main database. And now we have posted it to the parent database and now we can even take the backup of the database. So my data is in the production database. I want to take all the backup in the publication database as well. So I'm selecting two of these databases. I'm clicking OK. So whatever changes you have made in the one single like production database will be backed up in the publication database as well. So now finally we have finished this workflow and if you see in the history all the things like whatever you have done. So if I have skipped some steps, everything will be recorded over here and using this we can create a dashboard to know what is going on or how whether the work whatever I'm doing is going through the proper standard process or not, whether I'm maintaining that quality or not. So everything will be documented and we can generate the reports out of it. So this is how as an end user he will access the workflow manager to run it. Suppose, let's say if you only want to assign 3 steps to a person A, then we can just give him the access to that 3 steps, and automatically after running or executing the 3 steps, the workflow will be disabled for him and it will automatically get assigned to the next person. So this is the client application that we have done. So as an administrator, he will use another application to bring in everything, like whatever you have seen now on the workflow, like production, database, publication, and all the workflows are configured using the Workflow Manager administrator. So here we have that access to configure the application, and this is how we do it. So this is all about, the technical demonstration of Workflow Manager. So moving ahead about the system requirements and the licensing. So the first, the main requirements are like, first we need to have ArcGIS desktop. And within ArcGIS desktop, we need to have an add-on extension, that is the Workflow Manager. And it should be licensed with the standard or advanced. And then coming to the database requirements, since multiple people or multiple teams get involved into this, so we need an enterprise geodatabase to act as a central repository. And then the Workflow Manager server. If you want to access the same workflow on the web, you need to have the Workflow Manager for server. And that needs to be licensed on the role-based. And moving on, you can see a case study. So if you want to know like who all have implemented this, so you can see one of the case study like Los Angeles City officials are using this ArcGIS Workflow Manager for increasing the productivity. And as you can see, it tracks around 80,80,000 parcels with 58,000 zoning polygons and 53,000 general plan land use polygons. So they are using it in a wide range. And in India also recently they have started using it. So you can check, like if you want to know more about it, you can go through these links to get to know like who all are using it and how is it useful or how to use it and so on. And further moving on, so we would like to end this session and we would like to start the Q&A. But before that, I would like to inform that in the upcoming, in December, we have 2 more sessions. So you can kindly register to this to get like a knowledge about this technologies as well. So the one is on ArcGIS Maps for Office, and the other one is on creating the ArcGIS solution templates, very quickly, and how to create very quick ArcGIS solution templates and all those things. You can get an overview and understanding about it. So now there is another thing called GeoNet. So GeoNet community is for connecting and collaborating with the Esri team, and as a general public you can directly post your comments, or if you have any queries you can directly interact with the Esri employees or Esri staff. So we request you to join our GeoNet community. So with this we would like to conclude our session.